Before we get started on today's show here on Fast Break on IE Sports Radio, I want to talk to you about one of our sponsors, Legacy Financial. Last year was a tough year. However, staying positive, keeping your faith, and continuing to work hard is the goal. If you're in a financial struggle at the moment and you need some help, or if you're doing well and you want to get to the next level, either way, give them a call. Also, if you're looking for a new opportunity to work for yourself and earn more money part-time, give them a call. Call AO at 510-928-2104 to book your appointment today. Andrew and AO are just two people on a mission to help families build a legacy. You can find them on social media at legacy_uncut on Twitter and on Instagram at Sims_uncut. Please give them a call for all your financial needs. Well, the NCAA season, regular season season tournament has wrapped up, and the field of 68 is set. So we'll discuss all that and plus much more here on Fast Break on IE Sports Radio. You're the free for that is all is sports, and you're welcome to join us. And join us as you shall, ladies and gentlemen. It's just going to be me, Davidson, going solo here for a little bit until Dentarius joins us here momentarily. But we are here. We have reached the field of 68 of the NCAA tournament. It took a long process. It took a long journey. We didn't know this season what's going to happen, whatnot. You still had, COVID still going on and whatnot. Cases going up, all that type of stuff. So, we'll shake it how college basketball is going to start. And college sports in general, because, college kids, them finding about themselves, going out, being around the populace and stuff like that. Some kids don't care about things, about other things like others do. Stuff of that nature. So, to have this season to go on, and of course you have some blips on the road, some hiccups and stuff like that. You got through the season pretty nice and smooth. Clark Kellogg made a good point. Sitting there watching the selection show, made a good point. Everybody did a great job and stuff like that. For the most part, keeping these players on a dedicated schedule and all this type of stuff. And also, credit the refs too. I think we didn't really hear no referee issues at all too much in this season. Meaning, if a referee goes down, you don't have suitable replacements for that said referee. So, credit for the refs in each conference having that stuff together as well. So everything kind of went off great. And you know, get through the season, you see, you know, who was hot early, who was, you know, kind of cold. And then, you know, you get the conference play. You kind of see who rose to the cream of the crop. I'm going to sound like a homer in this, but a team like Alabama. Before SEC play, you know, 4-3, lost in Western Kentucky. Senior John Petty didn't play in that game. You know, disciplinary issues with Nate Oates. And then next thing you know, come that month of January to early February, they go 10-0 to start off in SEC play. Now you're talking about a team that's, you know, very dangerous come tournament time. In Iowa, Luke Garza. Started up pretty hot and then kind of stayed in the middle during the rest of the season. Now, granted, yesterday they were 2 seed, but, you know, that hot start, you know, that they had kind of cooled down a little bit in my eyes. And I'll get to the bracket talk here in a second. Then, you know, the Blue Bloods. You know, from Kentucky, UCLA, Kansas, Duke, North Carolina, you know, Indiana, Michigan State. They didn't have the best of seasons this year. They really didn't. You look at Duke. I think back in December, you know, when Illinois put the beat down on Duke, and Coach K had that press conference, you know, saying, well, I don't think we should be playing and all this and all that. What about the player safety? And you kind of sense from that, you know, press conference that they kind of tapped out. And from that point forward, Duke really wasn't Duke. They had some internal problems going on. Had one of your top freshmen leaving in the middle of the season. So it was not the world's greatest season for Duke. And then you look at Kentucky. Not the world's greatest season for them either. Top recruiting class. You know, not them playing up to snuff for the most of the season. You thought they may catch fire here late in the season, but it really didn't materialize. The fans turn on recruits. And then you got one of the freshmen, I forgot what was his name on top of my, gotta look at my notes, but he's transferring out. So, Kentucky, not looking the best. Kansas, not looking like Kansas. Granted, they had a solid team, but it ain't like the Kansas team we've seen in the past. And shout out to the chat. Shout out to Adam. Shout out to Terry Rodriguez in the chat. Adam asking, you know, how many Bama fans have to suddenly catch up on hoops. Adam, for a guy living here, I mean, there are legit Alabama fans that follow basketball and stuff like that. I don't know if y'all watch Alabama basketball in the past years, you know, minus this year, but when you kind of see like the older crowd and stuff like that around the front, though, I mean, I not say they enjoy Bama basketball, but they use those, you know, seats and stuff like that to for like their tie pride to kind of go to points for football and that type of stuff. Now, so those type of fans, they're kind of casuals. There are some hardcores out there. I will say that. Me personally, you know, before I die, I would love to see Alabama men's basketball win the championship. Either that or a Tennessee Titans Super Bowl win. And I'll be setting life in that part. But yeah, there's some fans that, that follow basketball hardcore. And then there's some fans that follow Alabama basketball. But then, it's like, they only come around, like a preacher is leaving the church and people interested who's going to be the new pastor type. If they win, I mean, cool, they support them, but they ain't like them like that. But they lose, stuff like that. They ain't really feeling them, stuff like that. They come out of woodwork saying, oh, they're never really good. Blah, 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 blah. Stuff like that. But y'all get where I'm going with that. But, back to the Blue Bloods real quick. I'll wrap this up here before I get to the brackets. Can these programs bounce back into those top 10 rankings we regularly seen them? I regularly seen them. Who's to say? With so much balance in college basketball, especially within the last 10 years, who to say that they'll come back and be successful? I mean, look at the Big Ten of Indiana, for example. Illinois, kind of getting things back up, to their standing. Michigan with Juwan Howard, doing great things there. Michigan State going to be Michigan State as well. Iowa, it seems like they all have a solid team. You got to contend those things in the Big Ten. And also doing on in-state rival Purdue as well. You got to contend with that. Kentucky, SEC, Alabama's on the rise. And they got a solid recruiting class right behind them coming up. It was like a dogfight in the SEC. At Arkansas, young in the signing squad. LSU, say what you say about Will Wade, but he can coach. Maybe shady is crap, but he can coach. Tom Crean in Georgia, if he get the right talent, he can surprise some folks. With Frank Martin, there's like decisions out there. There's stories out there that he may be cut loose Monday. We'll see after that meeting. Florida's always solid. Tennessee, Rick Barnes has done a great job there. So it ain't going to bounce back for these Blue Bloods. Going to the Duke, ACC. Got to worry about North Carolina. Virginia is always a tough one. Florida State, for the past, 10 years, especially 5, as one of the top programs in the country. Very consistent. All those things come to factor. And it's not like in the old days, in a sense. And 10 years ago, you grabbing all these one and dones and you're capitalizing off of it. And you kind of see all these one and dones with these programs kind of catching up, in a sense, to these schools. In which now you're seeing the Texas Techs, Virginias. Who else I can think of? Schools of that nature. Those two schools as example. Those schools are kind of catching up with those Blue Bloods, having a consistent program through the years. Not trying to get the big names, but grabbing the decent enough talent to compete with the Blue Bloods and beat them at different points throughout the years. But, that's kind of like the season in general. A lot of great play, a lot of individual performances And this tournament, hopefully, that's going to be set in Indiana in a neutral site game. Neutral site games. We're really going to see who's going to raise their game to the next level. You won't have no advantage, here in Birmingham if you're Alabama. You won't have no advantage if you're Gonzaga playing to come in Seattle, Washington. You won't have no advantage if you're Oklahoma State playing in Dallas. Or North Carolina if your site was in Greensboro. All one place. Different locations located around Indiana. Ball up and man up. So, that being said, let's get to these brackets. And first, I don't know. I try to rank these, what's like the least toughest bracket to the best bracket. I don't know. It's really kind of tough to which way to go because, all these teams are very solid they're in. So I really can't pinpoint who was what in a, lesser bracket. But we're just going to do this. We'll just start with the number one overall seed, Gonzaga. Gonzaga, undefeated for the regular season. 27-0. Ran through everybody. I think they had one of the best complete teams out there. We talked about here on the show before, Jalen, Suggs, along with Cade, Cunningham, are like the top two prospects in the NBA draft. Depending how the chips fall in the NBA draft, one of the two guys could be going one or two. Dentarius saying that Gonzaga won't win the NCAA tournament. They could not. They could not. And I tweeted this from the Fast Break account on Twitter. If you're not following us in there, please do at Fast Break at IESR. When Baylor lost early in the season, and they were undefeated at that time before they lost, along with Gonzaga, I tweeted that it's better for Baylor to have a loss here now compared, to come tournament time. Now, if y'all remember, back in December, Gonzaga and Baylor were supposed to play, but the game got postponed because due to COVID reasons with Baylor program. But, you hear now, Gonzaga, we're undefeated. And Adam Shea in the chat, with Bama's relative inexperience and attorney hurt them outside of round one. Well, you had Nate Oates and his staff have tournament experience coaching wise. Nate Oates, of course, being the coach of Buffalo, has that experience being in the NCAA tournament. Taking the Buffalo to the tournament multiple times up there. And then one of his assistant coach, Antoine Petway, who used to play at Alabama, has experience going to the NCAA tournament. And has been a coach at Bama for a very long time. So he's been in the NCAA tournament a couple times, experiencing NIT and stuff like that. And then the three seniors that they have in the fold, along with the Jordan Bruner, John Petty, Herb Jones, and Alex Reese, they at least have a couple games experience in the NCAA tournament. So I don't think, they ain't too experienced. They got a lot of guys that haven't played in it yet. But I think they should be all right. And I think Oates is not going to let that hamper anything. If you ask me if this time around next year, with the roster turnover with them, yeah, you can ask me that question, next year for next year's squad. But for this year's squad and the coaching staff, I don't see that being an issue. But looking at this West bracket, Like I say, you got Gonzaga, number one overall seed in the whole tournament. They will play either Appalachian State or Norfolk State in the playing game. Going to the 8-9 matchup, Oklahoma versus Missouri. That'd be a good one right there. Number 5, Creighton versus UC Santa Barbara. Number 4 seed, Virginia, going against number 13 seed, Ohio. 6 seed, the USC Trojans. They'll face the 11 seed, either Wichita State or Drake in the play-in game on Thursday. Number 3 seed, Kansas, going against number 14 seed, Eastern Washington. 7 seed, Oregon, going against number 10 seed, VCU. And to wrap this up, 2 seed, Iowa versus 15 seed, Grand Canyon. So if you look at this bracket, you can say it's a cakewalk from Gonzaga, in a sense. If you look at the top half of that bracket, you know, I expect Gonzaga to be either Norfolk State or Appalachian State in that first round. So you put them through that game. Oklahoma, Missouri, that if you fill out the bracket right now, that'll be a tough game to pick. Oklahoma, one of the better defensive teams in the country, going against a very well coached Missouri team that is very well disciplined, shoots very well at the line. That'll be a tough game to go to pick about, in my eyes. I don't know. I'm a big. I talked about it on the show. I'm a big Conzo fan, so I had to go roll with Missouri on that one. But I won't be surprised if that game is played close. And with Oklahoma's defense, you know, Lon Kruger's defense, I think they could probably pull that out. This next matchup, Creighton and UC Santa Barbara. Creighton, the past couple weeks, really ain't been playing too great. You had the McDermott controversy about the plantation comments and stuff like that. And then they suspended him, but just for a weekend. So now you kind of got a team, also, lost to in the Big East Finals against Georgetown and caught a beatdown by them. And now some of y'all probably saying, well, if they got to the Big East championship game, obviously they played pretty well. Well, not really. I mean, they have, but it's just like the plantation comments kind of took them out. What they do is kind of like mess with their mind, and it's kind of still kind of lingering in a sense. Especially with today's media and stuff like that, it kind of got a cloud in a sense over their head. And one from Myers Leonard's comments, we'll talk about that towards the end of the show. I think this one probably had more light on it. But with UC Santa Barbara and Creighton, and the way they just lost to Georgetown, and yes, Georgetown caught fire and stuff like that, I could see the Gauchos making an upset here. I think if UC Santa Barbara can play their cards right, I can see them upset Creighton. Pull the tape that Georgetown game. Pick out some key things that you imply to your game plan and implement it against Creighton. I could definitely see that. So don't be shocked if UC Santa Barbara beats Creighton in their game. Virginia, Ohio, it depends if Virginia can have 7 consecutive days of negative tests to make the tournament. Fingers crossed, we hope they do. And then hopefully they can make, a decent run in the tournament. If they are eligible for the tournament, I got the win against Ohio. I'll say that. Next matchup, USC and versus the winner of Wichita State, Drake. USC has kind of cooled off here. They lost some games, late games due to bad situations and stuff like that. I hope, the Mobley brothers can turn things around and kind of, get back to, playing great basketball, playing, that under the radar basketball that, before people, shine a light on them, they're playing at their best. If they kept their consistent play up, I'll probably have them at a higher seed, but since they really didn't, especially they tailed off at the end of the season, they're here at the 6th seed. So, give me USC here, for the winner for the Drake and Wichita State game. I'll go with the Shockers there. And dang, kind of remember, imagine years ago, that Missouri Valley Conference had Wichita State, Creighton, all these schools, and everybody's kind of dispersing in their own ways. I hate to see that. I really do. Kansas versus Eastern Washington. I think Kansas, especially come Big 12 play, as kind of, find themselves in a sense. When I say find themselves, okay, they kind of recognize who they are and, start playing solid ball again. Early season, it's just like, okay, they're a good team, they're a decent team, but, it ain't, it ain't Kansas of the past. It ain't the Kansas of the past. But I expect them to win this game. And they, if they do play USC, can USC use their size to their advantage against them in that matchup? We'll see, depending on how things shake out. Oregon, VCU. I'll say this about VCU. Don't matter who the coach is over the years. Whoever's been plugged into that situation has kept the wheel turning. And that's how I think you as fans of your schools, that's what you should expect, unless your program's in the dumps. To somebody to pick up the mantle and do better or keep the thing going. We see that more like, those mid-major schools and stuff like that. Better than these big-time programs. But, these big-time programs, you can expect that same thing, too. In a sense. Alabama, for example. Nate Oats take over for Avery Johnson. Avery had a very solid roster. Nate Oats' first year didn't go hot. But, this this year, you're the second seed in the NCAA tournament. And one of the better scoring teams in the country. Compared to Indiana that, after a couple coaches turnovers, really haven't found that success and find that, continuity that some of these other programs have had. So, the VCU program very consistent. There's an Oregon team led by Data Altman. I expect Oregon to win, but it won't shock me if VCU came out on top. 2C Iowa versus Grand Canyon. I think, for Luke Garza, mainly, a 6'11", stretch big man, can score from the post, can hit from the outside. I think you got to use this game to assert his dominance if Iowa's going to make a lengthy run. Use this game against Grand Canyon. Assert your dominance, use your size, and go to work. That's kind of like me speaking coach speak right there, but, Garza started off, like I mentioned before earlier in the show. He had started hot, along with the team Iowa, but kind of cooled off. Use this game right here to get you back on a hot streak. So who y'all think, out of that bracket, who y'all think is going to come out of that bracket? Do y'all see Gonzaga coming out of that bracket and make it to the Final Four? I do. Or do y'all see something else in there? Terry in the chat saying, Oregon is a dark horse in the West region. Hey, it could be. Could be. But I just think Gonzaga is so strong. And his roster by them is so constructed very well. I'm not saying they could choke, but... And Adam brought it like this, the Big Ten. The Big Ten was a dogfight this year. Best conference in the country. Some people argue the Big 12, which I can't say the Big 12 this year. I'm sorry. Iowa State was kind of a disappointment. Kansas State, that's kind of fallen off here the past couple of years. I mean, and TCU is just TCU. Which is why the Big 12 need to add at least a couple of schools there. But that's another conversation for another day. But the Big 10 was a dogfight. It really was. Illinois, Michigan, Ohio State, Iowa, Michigan State, Purdue, Wisconsin. They got 9 teams in the tournament. The Big Ten does. You don't think that's the best conference in the country? 9 teams from the Big Ten. Maryland. And I think I lost my train of thought, but you got those teams there. It's like, you can't compete with that. Big 12 can't compete with that. The size, of these teams in the Big Ten make them heavy favorites to possibly one of those teams win the NCAA championship. We shall see. But the Big Ten, yeah, they're the beast this year. In a lot of people's eyes. Some, more than others, but, a beast in some people's eyes. So, that's the West region right there. Let's go ahead and go to the Midwest region. 1 seed, Illinois. will face 16 seed Drexel, 8 seed Loyola Chicago versus 9 seed Georgia Tech. So you got a potential matchup of two North Illinois schools right there in the second round. In which, if you're Illinois hoops head, just in general, you kind of hate to see that, come to the second round. When I saw that, live, I said, dang, they're going to put them in the same bracket and then potentially meet in round 2. And also, I thought Loyola Chicago would have been at least a 6 seed in my eyes. I mean, I was going through looking at 6 seeds. You got BYU, San Diego State. You can't really argue against BYU. You can. Let's see. And then Texas Tech, which you can't really argue there. And then, I just discussed USC, who I had, 4th seed about a month ago, but, they kind of dipped off. So if I had to switch out a 6 seed, I would switch out BYU for Loyola Chicago. But, nothing you can do about that. But they playing against the Georgia Tech team that kind of somewhat lucked into the ACC championship. Then, with them lucking in, they won the ACC championship. And that, I think Josh Pastner, who was kind of on the hot seat this year, kind of really saved his job is for the season. Shout out to the Yellow Jackets for winning their conference tournament. Then going down, 5th seed Tennessee against number 12 seed Oregon. 4th seed Oklahoma State against 13th seed Liberty. Tennessee gonna be a very tough team you don't want to see. Going against Oregon, who really caught fire in that Pac-12 tournament. Played very well against Colorado last night, hitting their shots. Kind of staved off that Colorado run late in that game. And, for Oregon State winning that Pac-12 tournament, knocked off a bubble team, from the NCAA tournament. Kind of like today with Houston, winning the AAC tournament against Cincinnati. If Cincinnati would have won that, I think no bubble team been out the tournament. So, look at that matchup. Tennessee's the better team. I expect them to go over Oregon State. I think the Oregon State run comes to an end right there in this first round against Tennessee. Oklahoma State. And I failed to mention, with the Gonzaga matchup. Well, Gonzaga, in a sense, with Jalen Suggs. Him and Cade Cunningham. And I'll go Cade Cunningham first. I think he's going to have a monster tournament. I'm not saying Oklahoma State's going to win the championship, but I think however how long Oklahoma State stays in the field, I think you're going to see the case that Cade Cunningham maybe be the first number 1 overall pick in the draft. Now, his counterpart of his side, Jalen Suggs, if he having great games, leading Gonzaga to wins and stuff like that, it's going to be a tough argument there. But if Mr. Cunningham comes in and does his thing and averages at least 25 points that he has been doing in the big, he was doing in the Big 12 tournament, I think it's going to carry Oklahoma State a very long way. And I think this journey to start that starts with this game against Liberty. Now, come next game against Tennessee, with a better defensive mindset team in the sense in Tennessee, Could they put the clamps on Cunningham that next game? Hey, possibly. Can't argue that. But, Mr. Cunningham, the spotlight's on you. And we've seen over the past few years, if you catch a hot streak in the NCAA tournament, it could make you a instant millionaire just like that. Which he was always going to be that, but he could really solidify that come this run. Going down the list real quick. 6 seed San Diego State over versus 11 seed Syracuse. Syracuse, one of those bubble teams that got in the back door. I guess all that squalling and crying that Jim Boeheim does, he got in the tournament again. So yippee for him. But I don't see them winning against San Diego State there. 3 seed West Virginia, 14 seed Morehead State. West Virginia, kind of, I don't say quiet most of the year, but I hear too much out of them. Very consistent this year, especially, in the Big 12 play as well. I see them win against Morehead State. I think they'll put the clamps on them and pressure them very early with like what ball hugging would like to do. And I see them, winning against a Morehead State. Clemson at the 7th seed playing against Rutgers. Rutgers, one of those bubble teams that got in. Rutgers team that was ranked early this season, but kind of, still fighting that bubble area for the most of the season. And you're going against a Clemson team that likes to keep the game low scoring. If they in the low 60s, like 65 below, hey, that's their game. In a sense. But if it gets above 65 and that, then, boy, you if you get above 65 against a Clemson team, I think you're looking good. And I think that's what Rutgers got to shoot for. If you can get out and jump ahead of this team and keep them off and don't let them slow the game down for their liking, I think you can win that game. But if it's like back and forth, tight, low scoring, then I think, Clemson will possibly come out on top on that. Lastly, number 2, Houston versus number 15, Cleveland State. Houston winning the AAC tournament early today over Cincinnati. Calvin Sampson has done a great job in Houston the past 7 years. He don't get talked about too much. Turn that program around, and especially being banished to the NBA in a sense. The past few years. So, him reaching his second seed with this team, I give him all the praise in the world. Yeah, I got them, winning this game. Against, a very, solid Cleveland State team, mind you. But I think, what Calvin has did at Houston, I don't see them losing in that beginning game against Cleveland State. But if I had to choose somebody, come out this bracket, you got a lot of defensive-minded teams in this bracket. In a sense. The top 2 overall, the 2 seeds here in Illinois, Houston, I see them possibly meeting up in the Elite Eight. Now, like I mentioned before, Oklahoma State. If Mr. Cunningham can do this thing and up in them, then we can talk about a different story. But give me Illinois to come out this bracket. I know Adam would love to hear that, but give me Illinois to come out this bracket. So far I got Gonzaga come out the West, Illinois come out the Midwest, Oklahoma State potentially making a run, and Houston maybe get to Elite Eight. Now we're going to the South. The South, number one seed Baylor. They were up there with Gonzaga, kind of like that pecking order 1-2 throughout the year. They were like Gonzaga, blowing out teams and stuff like that throughout the season. You know, a couple teams have tripped up Baylor here lately. But I think you look at Baylor's resume throughout the course of the year, it's very easy that they were the second team overall in the country. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. They'll play number 16 team Hartford. I think Baylor will come out on that one very easily. This matchup I'm very intrigued by. Number 8, UNC. Number 9, Wisconsin. You talking about battle-tested Big Ten earlier against, North Carolina. I can't say who will come out this matchup. You can go either way on this one. UNC had a bad loss against Marquette. Late in the year when I guess they scheduled Marquette just off the cuff. Just because. And then Marquette come in and beat them. Wisconsin, even though they did have a solid year, but it wasn't like Wisconsin ball. But like we discussed here before, that Big Ten was a dogfight this year, and that dogfight brought them to the number 9 seed in this tournament. And I think Wisconsin got a little bit dog left to beat UNC in that first round. Number 5, Villanova at the 5th seed. The number 12, Winthrop. Villanova had, I don't know. Villanova hadn't been Villanova this year, and if that makes sense to y'all. They really haven't. I know, looking at roster, I think they're going to be missing. I'm pulling up right now. I forgot that kid's name. Come on, there we go. Yeah, Justin Moore. He's going to be out for Villanova for right now. The 6'4" sophomore, having 11 points, 11.3 points. Let me take it back. 12.7 points this year. I'm looking at freshman stats. This year. Really has raised his play and stuff like that. And if you ain't having him there, you ain't making a deep run. I think they'll beat Winthrop, but I think that Big Ten, that Purdue against North Texas, I think Purdue might get them in that next round. And speaking of Purdue, they're the 4th seed. They play North Texas. Like I said, I think I got Purdue there. Like we talked about, the Big Ten dogfight, battle tested throughout the year. I think they'll pull it off against North Texas. 6 seed Texas Tech versus 11 seed Utah State. You want to talk about two defensive-minded teams here. Texas Tech, Utah State. Oh, man, it's a tough one to go with. It's really tough. When I saw it, I was like, damn. You want to talk about, like, a defensive matchup and stuff like that. I don't know which way to go with this one. If Texas Tech would kept Burnett, the top freshman they gotten, and if they found a way with him to kind of, found a way to get him more involved in stuff and found his groove offensively, I could make a case that Texas Tech can go on a run. In a sense, made him the primary scorer. Along with that defense, I think you can make a run. Because we talked about it on the show before with me and Dentarius. If you get these type of kids, especially like the Texas Tech, who are not known to get these type of recruits, you gotta put your eggs in the basket with them. Especially with Texas Tech and Chris Beard, you want to take the next level. And being the top 4 conversation come tournament time. With these kids today, if you ain't catering to them and promising this and that over, everything in the world, then they ain't gonna mess with you. They just go up and bounce. But of course, he's not there now, so nothing you can do about it. So, but I think Texas Tech will do just enough to upend Utah State. But that'd be a fun game to watch if you're like a basketball purist, just watching, basketball, pure defense, set offensive play, stuff like that. That's gonna be a real great game to watch. There. This one's gonna be interesting too. Number 3, Arkansas versus Colgate. Colgate, if some of y'all are not familiar with them, they are fast and exciting. Very fast and exciting. They won the conference championship today. I'm trying to pull that up. What was that score? Come on. Yep. They won the conference championship today against Loyola of Maryland, 85-72. Now, granted, they have only played 15 games up to this point. But, will that help or hurt them, come this game against Arkansas? I don't know, to be honest with you. It's really hard to say. In a sense. I'm pulling up this schedule now. 10 games in January. 6 games in February. But you go down the list, beating Army by 101-57. That first game. Where the only loss they had to Army lose by 2 points, but other than that, everything else is above 85 points, just about. Except for the 2 games against Holy Cross, they put up 74 and 78 points respectively. transition to the February games. Win against Army, 84. Win against Army again, 92. Win against Boston U, 82. Colgate, against Boston U again, 78. Then going to the tournament, 77 points against Boston U. Colgate, 105. Loyola, 85. So, not the best of teams they played against, in a sense, to get to this point. But I think Arkansas, sees that in time, take them lightly, it could bite them in the ass in that matchup. But I think Arkansas's talent will be too good enough to allow that to happen. So give me Arkansas on that. 7th seed Florida against 10th seed Virginia Tech. I think, look at this matchup. I go with Florida here. But easy to go Virginia Tech. I don't know. Just watching Florida this year is just like, I'll be honest. I didn't watch a whole bunch of Virginia Tech this year. I'll be honest with you. I've seen very good pitch of Florida. If their guard game is good enough, I think they could do some things. Post play, it kind of comes and goes with Florida, but I think, I think it be just enough to win against Virginia Tech. So give me Florida there. Ohio State at the 2 seed versus 15 seed Oral Roberts. Give me Ohio State that one. I think they ain't losing that game. And, I think the salt in their mouths against, lose against Illinois will resonate with them. And I think they'll take that on Oral Roberts. And to look at this bracket, like I said, I got Baylor going on the way here. If any team that could make a surprise run is Texas Tech, like Adam mentioned in the chat. Ohio State, with the games he played against Michigan and then today against Illinois, it seemed like, they could be their own worst enemy at certain points of games. So that could be a factor come down the line. I think they'll get to at least a Sweet 16. And if they're playing a Texas Tech or Arkansas, and they play like they play in the Big 10 tournament, then one of those two teams will eclipse them there. But I got Baylor coming to this bracket. I think Baylor's too good. I think Baylor will learn from the losses they had this year, use that to their advantage, and kind of go to the Final Four. And Adam's bringing up in the chat, this might be a question for later in the show. I can answer this right now. If you had to pick a 16 seed this year to win a game, who would you take? Ooh, that's a good one. If I had to. I don't know, just looking at these teams, that I don't see them being the number one seeds, but if I had to choose one, let me go with Appalachian State. And yes, I know y'all probably saying, like, you chose Gonzaga to win the whole thing. Well, hold on. The WCC conference that Gonzaga plays in, it ain't that tough. If we're going to get real nitpicky about it. Terrence saying Hartford. I thought about them. And, I thought about Hartford, but I was like, I think Barry was like too athletic for them. I'm not saying Gonzaga's not athletic at all, but their strength, especially through conference play time, it won't surprise me that they'll get upended. And I know Terry brought up in the chat, Drexel. I repeat I sound like beating a dead horse, but that Big Ten, that dog fighting the Big Ten. I'd be damned if I was Illinois. I'd be damned I go out like that playing 16 seed Drexel. I'd be damned. I get through the Big Ten regular season, Big 12, and Big Ten championship, all that stuff. I'd be damned to go out the first round against Drexel. When we got to go against Michigan, Michigan State, Indiana, Purdue, Wisconsin, Maryland, Rutgers, Iowa. So yeah, I can't. Nah, hell no. That drive me nuts as a coach. But for a little controversy, I go with Appalachian State. Not saying it could happen, but Gonzaga. I mean, like I said, I like Gonzaga, but the WCC conference ain't up. Ain't the best. I'm just saying. Lastly, we go to the East. My favorite side of the tournament, of course, because I'm an Alabama fan. Blah, blah, blah. We got the 1 seed, Michigan. And they play the winner of the 16 seed, Mount St. Mary's and Texas Southern. I'm biased to the SWAC, so I'll go with Texas Southern there. But I got Michigan win that game regardless. I agree with you, Terry. Yeah, the WCC is bad outside of Gonzaga. It's like, I mean, you'll see Santa Clara and St. Mary's pop up, for a good run for a good couple of years. But after that, it's like, then everybody else is just like, eh. In which, I mean, it's kind of fair to say, is it time for Gonzaga to lead that conference? Because I think that their pedigree, men's and women's basketball, is kind of way above a pass the rest of the conference. And yeah, I mean, granted, yeah, you got BYU in there, but it's like we've been talking like Gonzaga like a top program in the country for years now, and I think we're kind of past that point of them staying in a lowly conference. If you were to move them, where you moving to? Maybe the Mountain West. Stick them one day. Teams like Boise, San Diego State, Fresno State, those teams in that nature. In my eyes. Or if you want to do this for basketball reasons, like we seen around the country, quote unquote Notre Dame. If I'm the Big 12, I'm putting that call out there. Maybe. That's just me. But I'm pretty sure that, big, those big wigs at the schools like Kansas and Texas probably won't go for that. So, just a pipe dream right there. But anyways, back to this bracket. East region. 8th seed LSU against 9th seed St. Bonaventure. If you didn't watch that SEC game like I did earlier, SEC championship game, LSU and Alabama, you missed one hell of a game. It was a great back and forth battle. You felt like if one team it felt like one team would kind of take the game over and kind of blow the other team out the water. The other team responded back beautifully and, kept the game in contention. And for LSU today, and Trenton Walford, the excellent game that he had in that ACC title game, I think he'd be coming out for blood next game here. Now, also, why in that SEC championship game that he took that three instead of driving to the lane where he was killing Alabama, I don't know. I know it's like under 10 seconds, so I know he wouldn't have enough time to dribble down to get a good shot, but still, I took that chance instead of trying to shoot a three-pointer, in which your percentage is not very good out there. But give me LSU in that one against St. Bonaventure over the Bunnies. 5th seed Colorado, 12th seed Georgetown. Colorado, 22-8 in the year. Very sneaky. Good in the Pac-12 this year. Georgetown got on, just like Oregon State, got on a hot run and rode it all the way to the championship game. And I don't know if Patrick Ewing having issues with MSG security kind of motivated him more to win that championship. But if he used that as great motivation, then, hey, more power to him. But you're talking about Patrick Ewing-led Georgetown team that kind of barely above 500 up to that point. And then, using his tournament and, kind of, in a sense, put Patrick off the hot seat here. Because, since his time here at Georgetown, he really, I don't say it ain't going well. It's just like, he hasn't brought that mystique back like he was there back in the day. And, with this matchup with Colorado, can he use that motivation from, winning the Big East in New York and win in that championship game in dominating fashion over Creighton to beat Colorado? I can't see that happening. I think that run stops here. So give me Colorado over Georgetown in that matchup. 4th seed Florida State over 13 and versus 13th seed UNC Greensboro. I think we've seen Leonard Hamilton over the years of Florida State. The teams that he's built, they are long, athletic, and they can get up and down the court. And I think, the past couple of years, his teams have gotten, to the Sweet 16, Elite 8, not yet to the Final Four, which I don't see happening this year, but that I think they'll still make another run to the Sweet 16. So give me Florida State on this run right here. And they'll continue that success doing that way. BYU as a 6th seed versus either Michigan State or UCLA as an 11th seed. This game right here, well, I have a lot of people with eyes on. Michigan State, over the past couple of weeks, has beat a lot of ranked teams to get to this point as a play-in team. And I agree with you, Tarian. I think BYU is going to lose, but to who, though, is the question. I think with Michigan State, and I talked about this earlier in the, before we did it, the bracket rundown. The one and done thing is kind of somewhat called to Michigan State. Now, they be getting these top recruits, but they stay at least a couple years or so compared to the others. But you can see in a sense that it's kind of caught up to them in a sense as well. And plus also injuries with Michigan State. You know, Joshua Langford, I have watched that dude in high school down here in Alabama. You know, kind of, well, I don't say surprised that he chose Michigan State, but, you know, but went to Michigan State. Really hasn't blossomed. I mean, really didn't turn out to a player that a lot of people expect him to be. And plus, he's been injured a lot as well as up there. And he was kind of like hurt like that in high school, too. And I think if he's healthy and his presence on the court, I think that will carry Michigan to a long way. I'm going to go back to his high school days. When he's not playing for his school at Madison Academy, there was like night and day, in a sense. But when he's on the court and stuff like that, hey, they win by 30 plus points and stuff. And in his time here in Michigan State, it's just kind of been like, you know, a Debbie Downer. You almost fall into that fold of a Robbie Humble type of role up there. A guy that's been there a very long time. To who wins this matchup? That's the question. Can Tom Izzo motivate his squad to a run? We've seen it before, but also seen other times with Tom Izzo that, you know, his team kind of goes out in a whimper. But since they are like kind of in this underdog role, give me Michigan State here. And give me Michigan State over BYU. Number 3 seed, Texas versus Abilene Christian. Texas, Shaka Smart in Texas. I think Shaka finally got something going there now. It took a little while. And we know with Texas and his boosters and how they treat their athletics and stuff like that, they ain't very patient people. And granted, you know, they throw money at their programs regardless, which is kind of like backwards logic. But Shaka got this thing rolling now. He has got this thing up and rolling like he did at VCU. He is finally, you know, got to. I mean, I think he's finally reaching that potential that what Texas basketball should be. There's a lot of talent that comes through Texas, but they all go elsewhere. And we've seen over the years. Drew Tyne, he's from Texas. He's playing up in Gonzaga. You know, I just use that for example. So, you know, Shaka, you know, especially come conference time, really has whipped this Texas team into shape. And I really, you know, glad he did that because, you know, there's kind of little rumors that he was on the hot seat. So we'll see how, you know, things shake out for Texas. I got them winning this game against Abilene Christian. So give me Texas that one. Number 7, UConn versus the 10 seed Maryland. Kevin Boatwright, since he has returned to the UConn lineup, has kind of lifted that team's play. He has played very well for the Huskies. I think his play will carry on to the tournament against Maryland, who Maryland's a real weird team to gauge. They're a weird team to gauge. I know the fans of Maryland, they kind of see the potential in the team, but, you know, I'm trying to figure the coach's name. What's his name? You know, Mark Turgeon. He has laid some duds over the past couple of years. And I think, you know, for Turgeon to not be on the hot seat come next year, he's got to have a good run here. But I just think, you know, UConn's going to have their number. In my eyes. Then finally you get the number 2 Alabama versus Iona. I think this is one of those first round matchups everybody's going to have their eyes on here. You got number 2 seed Alabama. Like I talked about before, you know, 4-3 before going to conference play, then going 10-0. Starting off 10-0 in the conference play. And then, you know, they win the regular season SEC, then win the SEC championship today over LSU. First time since 1991. And then you go look at the other side. The Iona Gales, led by one Rick Pitino. And what a coincidence that a Rick Pitino-led team is in the tournament, but no Kentucky or Louisville in the fold. Or no Duke. Let me get this out of the way. The fact that the NCAA and other media types are still trying to sneak Duke in the NCAA tournament should be a damn crime. Duke ain't good this year. There is a down year. But the shameless ways they trying to, you know, sneak them in the tournament and stuff like that. Like, hell no. You got to have standards for these things. Yes, Duke is a draw. Yes, Duke has a fan base over the country. But you can't, I would say you can't sell your souls for money, but I think NCAA has done that a long time ago. But you can't sell your soul just to have Duke in the tournament and them not being good. That ain't good business. You're going to just have a bad Duke team there and them get bounced in the first round? No. Keep them out this year. Let them regroup, and they probably be back in it next year. But the shameless way they've been trying to plug Duke in, it was just astounding to me. But back to this matchup. You got a Rick Pitino-led Iona Gales. Morally, you can question Rick Pitino for what he has done. You know, the whole, you know, getting the waitress pregnant and throwing it on the assistant to raise the dude, the child and stuff like that. That was just wild in his own right. You know, the thing that happened with the Boeing kid and Adidas and all that stuff. That was wild. Him getting let go from Louisville. Nobody really touching him. Then he goes to Greece, coached there for a couple years, and now he's back stateside at Iona, and he's leading them to the NCAA tournament as a 15th seed against the Alabama team that, one of the better scoring teams in the country. A team that lives and die by the three. A team that, don't like take 2-pointers and stuff like that. They're shooting layups or they're shooting 3-pointers. So it's going to be a real interesting matchup, especially coaching-wise. Nate Oates' style and, Rick Pitino's style. Two different styles there you have, going to this matchup. I got Alabama winning. I do. But like I said, as an Alabama fan, this matchup kind of worries me. I think, talent will prevail in this win. But Rick Pitino, this ain't his first rodeo. And I guess for Rick Pitino, who may be looking for a bigger school to kind of finish out his career, he may use this game as a resume for one of these teams out here who could be looking for a new coach, here in the coming month or so. But give me Alabama here to win this game. But for who to come out in this bracket, it's tough. It's tough. I think the top 2 seeds will probably meet each other in the Elite 8. In that instance, I mean, you could see a foil in Texas or in Florida State. But, I sound like a homer. Give me Alabama go to Final Four. I said it. Boom, I said it. All right, I got it in my system. I thought about Michigan. I think if Alabama matched up with any other 1 seed, well, if they match up, I think if they match up with Illinois, if they match up with the other 1 seeds, I probably took the other 1 seeds over them. But since Michigan, yeah, give me Alabama to go to the Final Four here. So my Final Fours, I know I kind of run along here. I know Mike's not doing the show, so kind of blessing in disguise here to run over here. My Final Four: Alabama, Gonzaga, Baylor, and who I said? God, no bracket. Did I say Illinois? Yes, I think I did say Illinois. Yes. So out of those 4 teams, man, it's tough. I got Baylor and Gonzaga meeting the championship. I think we'll see the matchup that we were supposed to see in December. And bold prediction, I think Gonzaga runs the table. You hear it here first, live on IE Sports Radio, here on Fast Break. The Gonzaga Bulldogs and win the NCAA championship. It will be the first undefeated team since, was it Indiana, to go undefeated over Baylor. Now, could the other teams I got win the championship? Sure. I think that could trip up Alabama. Size. I think, the big men that they played mostly in Juan Gary, Alex Reese, and Jordan Burner. Well, take out Gary. The other two, Reese and Burner, don't have that toughness at times where you expect it to be. And with Juan Gary, he's about 6'4", 6'5", but if he was 6'9" or so, I think you probably expect more at Alabama then. But I think at some point size will kind of eclipse Alabama, especially in the Final Four. And let's see. I'm trying to look it up right now. And then especially, them being matched up with potential Gonzaga, I think that size might hurt them. So, and like other side, Baylor going over Illinois. Jared Butler for Baylor has been playing pretty well for them. And, Baylor's one of those long athletic teams as well. But can shoot the ball very well, can D you up. And, with a dogfight from the Big Ten, Illinois kind of tripping up in the end with a, slightly more athletic team. Because the thing about the Big Ten, you got some athletic teams out there, but not really. And some of those teams have got that length also. And I think, Baylor can, show them a different style, a different look there that, Illinois is not used to. But in the end, like I said, I got Gonzaga over Baylor in the championship game. I think that'd be a great watch for everybody involved. So that's how I look at the NCAA tournament. Things get started here this upcoming Thursday with the play-in games, and then after that, this Saturday coming up, that's when things get rolling. And I know we're doing the bracket on IE Sports Radio, so we'll be doing that and give everybody's predictions through there and see who's gonna come out on top. But before I go, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to talk about this situation with Myers Leonard. Over the weekend, Mr. Leonard was on a gaming stream during All-Star Weekend. And, during this gaming session, he used a derogatory word used against the Jewish community. And when you see the video when he said it, it's kind of like it rolled off the tongue like it was normal. I looked at that. I was like, "Hey, man, you real comfortable saying that?" He's real comfortable saying that. And my thought process was, he had to know. He had to know what that word meaning was. He had to. I hate to say that. I hate to say that. He should know better than that. He should know better than that. And heck, look where he's at now. South Beach, Florida. Very big Jewish community down there. He should know better than that. His owner, I believe he's Jewish. So not only that the team you play for has a very large segment of Jewish people. But your owner's Jewish. Now, he put a statement out. I'll read it real quick here before I wrap up the show. I'm deeply sorry for using anti-Semitic slur during the live stream yesterday. Well, at the time, you know what happened. While I didn't know what the word meant at the time, my ignorance in its history and how offensive it is to the Jewish community is absolutely not an excuse, and I was just wrong. I am now more aware of its meaning, and I am committed to properly seeking out people who can help educate me about this type of hate and how we can fight it. I can acknowledge and own my mistake, and there's no running from something like this that is hurtful to someone else. This is not the proper representation of who I am and why I want to apply. And I want to apologize to the Aaronsons, the owners of the team, my teammates and coaches, front office, and everyone associated with the Miami Heat organization. To my family, to our loyal fans and others in the Jewish community who I've hurt. I promise to do better, and I know that my future actions will be more powerful than use of this word. When he used this word, you know, a lot of people saying like, ooh, he gonna get in big trouble. Because, you know, there's that, you know, conception out there that, you know, Jewish people got a lot of money and stuff like that. They run a lot of things behind the scenes and stuff like that, and yada, yada, yada. You know, a lot of Jewish people come out and say, like, hey, man, don't be telling all our secrets and stuff like that. We don't run, you know, we don't tell out his money and stuff like that. That's how, you know, in terms of the Holocaust, how it came about, because, you know, that's how the Holocaust, you know, trying to go on top of my head here and kind of Cliff Notes here, how the Holocaust, one of the reasons why the Holocaust happened. The Germans over there that were poor or not, you know, not making decent enough money, you know, and stuff like that, kind of really jealous and envy of the Jewish community over there, and then, you know, next thing you know, the Holocaust happened. You know, they start rounding them up and stuff like that. We know what happened there. I ain't gonna dive into it. We know what the Holocaust is. Terrence saying, you know, a release coming soon. I know he has a player. I mean, I think a team option with the team. But if you're Myers Leonard, you got to think about this. You got a Jewish commissioner in the league. Your owner's Jewish or Jewish descent, you know. You know, you ain't been playing too. I think he's hurt at the moment. You ain't been playing too much for the Miami Heat. You know, it's kind of baffling that the Heat kept him over Jay Crowder for the money they gave Leonard. But, you know, hey, it is what it is. So, you know, if you're Leonard, like, you better hope this didn't make the last straw for you. I mean, yeah, you shoot pretty well, but you don't do too much else pretty good. And like I talked about earlier, you know, you got like a big man like Luke Garza coming to the league here pretty soon. There you go. That's a replacement right there. Some of these other mid-major school that decent shooting big man coming to the tournament. A lot of replacements right there. So, but my issue, I'll wrap this up here. My issue, one more thing. My issue with this, though, is also with the gaming community as a whole. There's no checks and balances in the gaming community. Now, I don't know, for the guys in the chat, if y'all still play video games and stuff like that, or play online and stuff like that. But if you go online, and especially playing those Call of Duty games and stuff like that, you got people talking real greasy and stuff like that. Adults, children, stuff like that. We talking real greasy. Say on top of things, stuff like that. And there's no checks and balances in that. And yeah, you could report said person, but that said person will just create another email account and log back into playing again. Like they do PewDiePie, for example. If you don't know who PewDiePie is, he's a very famous game content creator who signed like an exclusive deal with YouTube, I think last year or something like that. But a big controversy before that, he said the N-word like it was cool. And not the GA, but the ER. But the funny thing about it, he didn't even get punished. He got an exclusive deal with YouTube. And I hope for Myers Leonard's sake that, he could come out in this forgiveness turn and, repent what he said. And not use it again, but who to say if he does learn his lesson or not? This ain't cool. Yeah, Kyle Larson, same thing. Like, if you say this stuff in the game community, you say it about damn near everywhere else. Or maybe other, words as well. Now, for Myers Leonard, I can't really say he would say anything else. Being in the NBA and being around black men most of the time, I think it's wise not to say that. And especially with one Jimmy Butler on your team. It ain't very wise to say that. And also, Udonis Haslam as well. Who's still cashing a check in the league. But anyways. But you can't do that. And like I said, I think it's the larger issues that this online gaming community has continued to let things like that slide so much that people think they will get punished for it. And actually, they get rewarded for it. Look at PewDiePie. And that dude's, I think, somewhere in Sweden and something like that, or Holland. And how many interactions with black people that he has to use that word. All I'm saying is, like, if you're online, stuff like that, just watch your words. And don't play dumb when you get caught in the act. But this has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us. You can follow the show on Twitter at Fastbreak at IESR. That is Fastbreak IESR. Also, you can find me on Twitter at Spawn4288. That is Spawn4288. I also do a show on the side called The Crooks Process. You can get updates to that show on Twitter and Instagram. Just type in The Crooks Process. You'll see the CP logo. Give me a follow there. Also, you can follow Dentarius on Twitter at Black-813. That is Black-813. So you can follow Mr. Locke on Twitter through that way. Also, please do follow IE Sports Radio on Twitter as well, Instagram, and Facebook. Also, please do check out the website, iesportsradio.com. You can catch the playback of this show and all the other shows on our network as well. So, please do check that out. Also, go by the merchandise store. Those lovely black and white tees of, say, IE Sports Radio. It's a beauty. Check them out. I want one. So please do check that out. Also, on the docket for tomorrow. Shout out for Adam. Hop in the chat. Chi-Town Weekly. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 Pacific. I know he'll break down, Illinois and Lower Chicago tomorrow during the show. Also, baseball, spring training going on right now. So I'm pretty sure he'll talk about the Cubs and the White Sox as well. So please do check him out tomorrow. And speaking of baseball, bases loaded with Brandon Buckingham and H-Town Blake. Baseball kind of is up and rolling. The guys break down spring training games and whatnot, and all the baseball news. So please give them a listen. And also, Set Point, our all-exclusive volleyball show tomorrow at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific on here on iSports Radio, hosted by Mr. Dentarius Rodriguez. So all things volleyball, please do give Mr. Rodriguez a listen. But till next week, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. I know it's a long show, almost 2 hours, but hey, with the bracket dropping tonight, the other news going on mixed in as well. Hey, it was a great show to do tonight. I love doing this. So, thank you for tuning in tonight with us, ladies and gentlemen. Also, next week, hey, kind of more the same. The games going on Saturday, starting Saturday. We're breaking down those Saturday games. Go about our winners and losers. Then also, same thing Sunday. Winners and losers that way. Sneak in some NBA talk as well. And also, the women's bracket drops tomorrow as well. So, a lot of things to talk about here next week. But until then, we'll catch y'all next week. We're out.